I bought 4 planes for $1.3 million. Now, wait a minute. They're not jets. They're personal training aircraft. They're Cessnas, they're Diamonds, but I bought them not just because I like flying, not because I've been an aviator for 20 years. I bought them for the bonus depreciation on them. You know, Tom Wheelwright says very famously, if you want to change your tax, you have to change your facts. And what I did was I began looking at the tax code and I realized that if these were tools of the trade, then I could write them off 100%. And so I bought a Cessna 172 and I put it into a rental fleet and I began to build a flight school. With that, I was able to write off the whole amount of the Cessna off of my income for that year. So then I bought another one. And I bought another one. The last plane I bought was $500,000. It was a twin-engine Diamond. And I went to the bank. I got 80% loan to value, which means that I had to put $100,000 down, right? Not a big deal. I put $100,000 down. I took that to my accountant. I said, hey, this is a rental aircraft. He said, okay, great. Depreciated the plane out. I wound up getting a 37% tax break because this came off my highest income, a 37% tax break on the full 500. So I wound up with over $190,000 back, not savings. I was going to have to write a check to the IRS for $190 grand. So just by doing that, I actually wound up with almost enough to buy another plane in my pocket, and I began to rent that out. In fact, I was out this morning practicing some IFR approaches. We're going to do some flying this weekend. And I was reminded because I looked at my bank account when I came in and I had received about $16,000 in rental income from those aircraft this last month. And so I have taken something that I love, figured out how to make tax savings work for me, put them to work, and make money on the investment. And I'll give you guys a little quiz here. What kind of return am I making on that last aircraft if I put $150,000 down? I got a check back from the IRS for $190, and I'm making about $6 grand a month on that plane. That's kind of an infinite return, isn't it? So the bonus depreciation was part of Trump's tax cuts that were set to expire this year that Congress is currently debating. And it was a step down. So for the first couple of years, you got 100% bonus depreciation. The next year, you got 80% bonus depreciation. The next year was 60 and 40. And then they're going to expire at the end of this year after the 40% depreciation. But the conversations in Congress and the big, beautiful bill at some point is going to be passed. But these tax efficient things, these strategies are still in that. And that's one of the main components of the bill. And so you can literally take anything that you want and do this with it. Let's take a Ferrari. Let's say you want to buy a 488, beautiful car, right? You're going to drive it maybe every other Saturday, once in a while. But what if you were able to take that car, pay $300,000 for it, finance it, and lease that car out on a funny little app called Turo? See, when I was in Phoenix just a couple weeks ago looking at a project, I rented a Cybertruck, and I think I paid about $450 for the day. But what did I care? I got to drive a Cybertruck for the day. It was great. I got to see how the truck works, all of that kind of stuff, without having to pay $100 grand for it. There's a lot of people that will continue to utilize that. My son's 21st birthday, we rented a Ferrari. It was a 488. It was in the color he wanted, and we drove the wheels off that thing for the day. Took it back, paid the guy his money. He needed to rent that car, I think he said 3 times a week. And when we get to his house, he's got a Bentley, he's got a Rolls, he had a couple of Maseratis, another Ferrari, and even a couple of motorcycles that he rented out, and that's how he made his money. Well, he had another import business that he was using this as the massive depreciation for his income so that he wasn't paying a tax bill, and every year, or every 6 months, really, he was buying another car, putting it in his fleet and renting it out, needing 3 rentals a month to make the payment, and the rest of the time, it was his. So he had built a whole luxury fleet. You can literally do that with anything you want. There's an app for RVs called Outdoorsy. Go buy an RV. Literally just about anything you want to do, and instead of taking it from an asset that just sits in your driveway and depreciates, you're able to turn it into cash flow while somebody else makes the payment on it. This is the beauty of understanding the tax code. And when you understand it, it's not just for forklifts and excavators. It's for anything you want to use and create the business around it. We hear all the time about people who are driving Uber, they're writing off their cars and all this kind of stuff. That's fine. But what about thinking bigger? What about thinking about really buying something nice and treating yourself, but then creating a business around it? This is the amazing thing, that when you really study the tax code, you can find all kinds of things in there that don't just apply to the super rich. They don't just apply to real estate. You can apply them to a lot of different aspects of your life and create a lifestyle that reflects what you want out of life while you're building your end game. And that's really what we call the intelligent investor framework. It's about building a lifestyle around the things that you want while you're getting to the place that you can call all the shots whenever you want and do whatever you want with that time every single day. So I will continue to expand my fleet, upgrade my aircraft. I'm upgrading one of my excavators. I'm buying another piece of heavy equipment because there's a $1.1 million depreciation limit every year. Do you understand that? That means that I can write off the highest $1.1 million I make this year by buying equipment that I can finance, that I can then make money off of. I mean, it's a circle. It is completely designed to be a circle. And the reason for that is because when I buy a piece of equipment, whether it's a Ferrari, whether it's an excavator, whether it's an airplane, that created jobs. That created sales tax. That created all of the things that continue to stimulate an economy. So it makes a lot of sense from the government's point of view, because when you're buying a $500,000 aircraft, the sales tax on it was $30,000. That is huge. And when you continue to stimulate the economy, the government gets what they want because the flight instruction has a cost to it. There's fuel that we use. There's taxes that are paid there. All of those things continue to perpetuate the economy, stimulating it, while I now have more money in my pocket, more cash flow to go stimulate the economy in other ways. And so the intelligent investor framework is really thinking about, what can I do to stimulate the economy, create tax efficiency for myself, and create a lifestyle that I love and enjoy. If you think owning airplanes and making cash flow on them is cool, maybe parking a supercar in your driveway and letting other people pay for it is awesome. I did too. But you know what? In 2008, I lost everything almost overnight. And I had to figure out how to build back. And if you want to know how I did it, the next video, I'll show exactly what I did, the mindset that I took, and how I recreated that lifestyle that I wanted for my future.